So wonderful to be here. It's been a while. It's been an additional week since we've caught up because of a few of us went to Bali and had a wonderful time. So we're probably going to brag a little bit if that's okay, right? We're going to gloat. We're going to brag. We're going to go, no. No, we're not going to do that, are we, Justine and Jem?
Yes, we are.
Okay, we are.
Not too much.
Yeah,
Not too much. Yeah.
I didn't notice you down the bottom there.
Yeah. Hey, Justine, how's it going?
Yeah, good.
It's been such a cool last 4 or 5 weeks for lots of us, and hopefully it has been for everyone. But I think for a lot of those guys that went to Bali, we've sort of known each other on the screen, but haven't sort of ever met each other in person. And it's such a powerful thing when you actually meet face to face.
Yeah.
So it was good to, wasn't it, Jem? Yeah, I mean, you know, and Justine, you know, a lot of people on the screen, but when you actually meet them and go, they're real. It was
very different.
Yeah.
Great experience though.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. Here's Sue coming in now. So we'll just wait for Sue and then we'll really just launch into it. So is everyone having a beautiful day, beautiful morning? In Europe and South Africa, it's morning and daytime. In Australia, it's evening. In Perth, it's afternoon. I love it. We are so well represented. Hello, Sue. So good.
Hello, everybody.
We're so
Hi.
I can't believe how well represented we are here. We've got Italy, we've got South Africa, we've got England, we've got from coast to coast in Australia. We've just got it all. I love this. This is so cool. So good to see you. I just look forward to these every single month. And the fact that you're coming back means hopefully you do too, which is wonderful. So look, there's lots of obviously things to share and stories to tell. And so what I might just do is just open it up to start with, and we'll, as we do every month, we'll just see what direction we head. If anyone wants to open up and share thoughts and ideas and breakthroughs and cool things, and I know there's some people with some good news, and people, obviously Gemma and Justine and I were in Bali, and I know Sue's got some exciting news. So I don't know, we'll just open that up, and anyone who wants to start us can start us.
I'll have a go if that's okay.
Please, Chris, it'd be great to hear from you.
Yeah, I'm really pleased to be able to say that I've got back onto my writing journey.
Right.
You know, I sort of finished that first draft and I really wasn't very happy. I'm now writing the book that I really did want to write. And yeah, I've sort of got over my hurdles. I've got over my doubts about my own ability. And I'm hoping, Andrew, to be sending you like the second draft of the first chapter.
Awesome, mate.
Soonish, if you like, because so I'm actually super excited.
Awesome.
I want to thank you guys really, because you've all inspired me.
Awesome, mate. And so we're gonna stay with you for a sec, because I think there's I'm sure there's some questions that people have, and one question is, you know, you said you've overcome the doubt, your ability. Tell us how you overcame that, because I think everyone would be interested in the answer to that question, wouldn't they? I know I certainly am. How did you overcome that?
I think to be brutally honest, right? And I think that's one of the things that I did with myself. I got brutally bloody honest, and I think I've procrastinated all my life simply because of what I perceived as happened to me at school, if you like. And I lived my whole life with the fear, the thought that I was thick and I couldn't spell and I couldn't do all this, and I've hidden behind that. But I've got brutally honest with myself, and I realised that that's all been a lie, and it's not true. And I have got something to say, and I can actually put it into words what I want to say.
Had a conversation with yourself, Chris, did you? You just had it sounded like you had gave yourself a stern talking to.
Yeah, I do you know what though? I can't remember the guy's name. You know your podcast, you know the three of you. One of those guys was on here, and he
Adam
talked about a book again that well, I can't remember what the book was, but I've got the book, and it sort of sung to me a little bit. And I just thought, look, come on, it's time now. It's time. Take a deep breath and get on with it. So I'm sort of someone that started to, for the first time in my life, read the instructions, get a clear view of what I'm supposed to do, and do it. So that's what I'm doing.
That's so good, mate. That is such a great story. So happy for you, mate. That's awesome. So it sounds like you just got started. You gave yourself permission, and then you've got into action. I think, isn't it interesting? Who finds this the hardest time is when you're actually procrastinating, when you're not doing it. That's when you give yourself the hardest time. When you actually get writing, get into action, even though it may not be perfect, at least there's belief that, well, I'm in action, I can do it. And you've obviously, Chris, just decided to get into action and do it, and now you're believing more in yourself, which is amazing. Which
I think you getting me to sit there and do some writing, no matter what, that habitual habit, if you like, sitting down, even if it's 4 words and you don't know what the hell you're talking about, just sitting there and doing it is crucial, so yeah, that's it.
That's awesome news, mate. Well, thank you for sharing that. That gives everyone, I hope that gives everyone a bit of hope and inspiration that even if you're stuck and even if you doubt yourself, just keep going. And that touching it every day. I mean, Stephen and I just had a chat before the forum, didn't we, Stephen? And it was the same thing. He's now starting to just touch it every day. And when you touch it every day, you can't sit there and open a document and do something and not get a bit inspired or get a little bit excited or get a new idea. So even that act of opening up your document and even putting 4 words, whatever that might be, is still an incredibly positive step forward and starts to build this strength and this confidence and this belief. And that's, yeah. So thanks, Chris, for sharing that. Yay. So come on, tell us your exciting news.
Me, Sue. There's 2 Sues here.
Yes, you.
Yeah.
Sue.
Okay. Sorry, Sue. We Justin can't be here. He's traveling through the UK at the moment. It didn't sync up with this forum. So I'm speaking from behalf of both of us. And we have had some good news. I want to thank Kat too last time. Remember Andrew and you did that demo of Chat GPT. I always go the wrong way around. I used that for our market research. Just for all of you, when you get to the point of submitting to publishers, I am naive and inexperienced and did not realize that they want you to do so much more than I anticipated a traditional publisher or any publisher might want. Not only do you give them the manuscript to appraise and see if they want to go with it. They want to know what sort of platform you've got. What are your hashtags? Why are you writing this book? Why you and no one else? What is it about you that's you want to tell us about that? What's your book like compared to what else is out there? What's your point of difference? All of this went on, and I remember last forum I said, oh my goodness. And Kat, you came in and said, I don't know what you think about AI and Chat GPT, and Andrew, you seized the moment and demonstrated. And the next day, I thought, I'm going to just have a little go here. And I decided that the market research, what I did was I took our synopsis, Justin and my synopsis, and I put it into Chat GPT and said, what like books are out there that do similar themes to ours, and what's the point of difference in the last 5 years, something like that. Now, I know you told me and I understood it's not a search engine, can't do, like your Google search or anything, but it spat up some key search terms, said, we don't do this, but you might like these. And I used the 5 search terms that they'd given me, put them in, they were on our thematic areas of what our book, well-being, things like clarity and so on. And it came up with the title. I then went to Google, got a synopsis of that title, put it in with ours, said point of difference, and bang, out it spat. Now, a word of warning, and I know you gave it to us too, Kat, and it became obvious to me when I did that, I couldn't suspend my critical mind. My first desire was to, oh, wow, look at this, fabulous. Let's have a look at this. And then I realized, no, comb it over carefully, Sue, because there's some little bits that don't quite make sense and some which you don't really want there and some repetition, etc. So long story short, in the online submission for publishers that ask for that sort of thing, I looked at 5 areas to do with our book and put that in, that the end result of that and the point of difference for those publishers in the submission. Now, I don't feel any integrity problem with this because at least one of the publishers said, please tick this box that you did not use AI in your manuscript. Didn't, haven't, won't, because that doesn't sit with me. But for doing market research, which, my goodness, I was looking at 20 more hours before I even got the first submission in, I thought, why not? Why the hell not? I expect you guys to be doing that anyway. Well, so what we did, I got 10 submissions to publishers. That took me 2 weeks. 2 weeks, but I thought, and I think, Andrew, you said at one point, and I thought maybe you were joking, but you said, look, you've done the book. That's step number 1. It's not the end of anything. And I can see you nodding, Justine. I'm sure you've been through this too. Me, I went, oh my goodness, so much more to do now. So anyway, I got the 10 out there. And you know how we hear all, and each one of them had, well, if you're viable, some said, if you're viable, you'll hear from us in 2 weeks, or you'll hear from us in 4 weeks, or you won't hear from us if you're not viable, or please don't submit till 6 months ahead, we've got enough, or whatever. It just went on. So I wrote down the 10 and put all the dates of when I might hear from them. And the first 2 were within 2 weeks. Well, I'm happy to say we got 2 responses from those 10. And
3, Sue. What was the 3?
3. Thank you. The 3rd one was a rejection.
Yay!
That's probably what. And Andrew said, Sue, you've got to celebrate the rejection.
Celebrate the rejection.
Why are you not mentioning the rejection? I'd like to mention the rejection in this way too, for the rest of us to pick up on. They said, we don't think we can make a commercial success with you, is what they said. You haven't got a big enough platform. Basically, why don't you think about self-publishing? And gave us a little link to a self-publisher. I wrote back and said, thank you so much. In my world, I was thinking chicken and egg. How do you get a big enough platform if you're not out there? Oh, anyway, but I took that on board. I know we haven't got a huge profile yet. So, and thank you for the hint or the lead on the self-publishing. We would like to pursue the traditional publisher first. And yes, we've put self-publishing as a possibility should we choose to go there. And that was that one. That was the rejection. Actually, it did come 3rd, Andrew. It was the 3rd one was the rejection. The first one, and I must say to all of us sitting here, Andrew's name, it was Ark House, and Andrew kindly gave us a list of publishers to submit to try to put in, and said on the ones that you knew personally, Andrew, mention my name. Now, with Ark House, they had a little box going, we like to talk to people. Tell us a bit about your book was all they wanted to know, and your details. And they actually sent a email response and then rang me. You can imagine, I'm in Sydney visiting my grandchildren in the park, and I get a call from a publisher. That was enough to make my millennium. And that is why I'm celebrating tonight. Even though we haven't got a publisher's deal in the hand, we had these nibbles. You know, you get this dire thing that goes, you won't hear from anybody, and it'll be 3 years. And you have Adam, wonderful Adam, you had talk here, 300 rejections over 10 years. So I'm sitting there thinking, off they go into the ether and we'll never hear from them. So that was wonderful to talk to. And Ark House said, Andrew, I've told you and everybody else I'll tell now, they said, if you just mentioned Andrew's name, we would have fast-tracked that. We wouldn't have, in fact, I thought it was, you know, head-turningly fast as it was. But they said, any submission that we get through Andrew, we respond very rapidly. So that's nice to know. And thank you so much for your credibility and obviously importance in some of those publishers' eyes, Andrew. That's good for us all to know.
Yes, thank you.
Yep. And so I had the talk with this fellow from Ark House Press, and then we found out that they've offered us co-publishing deal. So I guess in a sense we've got one in the hand. We've said, thank you for the minute. Can we consider that? And we've made a decision, Justin and I, to leave the 10 out there and see if one of the traditional arrangements of full publishing can happen, because it'd be nice to feel we could draw that. And I know, Justine, thank you for what you said. You had 5 replies and you said you took none. And I know you've ended up setting up your own publication house. So, and by the way, we might be in touch with you, Justine. What do you think about a wellbeing book, Justine? So you're
I've read your book. I've read your book.
I haven't heard from you, so I didn't know if you got to it.
Yeah, no, I've read it.
Okay, what do you reckon?
Great.
Good. Okay, good. Okay, there you go. Another publisher's gone. Is that 4? Is that 4?
There you go. There's 4.
Thank you.
Hey, wasn't I the first?
I haven't heard back from you.
Didn't we sit across having coffee one day saying if you couldn't find anywhere, I'd publish it?
Oh, that was before I'd written the blooming thing. But now you've read it. And there's a slightly variation of interest for me now that someone gets it and actually reads the words, and say, rather than saying, Sue, you're a rather nice human being, I'll publish it. That sort of comment's great. But what about, I like your work. Yeah, I want to roll with it. That one. Yeah. Okay. I'll keep you in mind, Justine. I can always visit. She's only 20 minutes up the road, everybody, even though we're scattered across the continents. You're not far from me.
No.
No. The next story, which is, while we're holding that one, Melbourne Books is the second one that we've got a response from. And they're the ones I put both the full market research. They wanted so much. It took me ages to get that one together. And then they got back, though, and said within that week, and said, we've enjoyed reading what you've submitted. Thank you so much. Could you submit the whole manuscript if you're willing, confidentially, which we have done in a PDF form. And they said they've got that now, and we got a response within a week saying, we really like it. We like the point of difference that you have, where the whole editorial team is trying to reach a consensus. Are you prepared to do book talks and workshops? And I almost did, is the Pope a Catholic? Was my response to that one. Sorry, but you won't be able to shut me up if I get on one of those. So we've said yes, and now they've put it through to the big publisher. I've forgotten his name, Andrew. Do you remember his name from Melbourne Books?
I can't remember his name.
Anyway, it's at that level.
The big boss.
The big boss is considering it.
That's awesome.
So there we are. I wanted to say it, and I'm celebrating now, even though nothing is a done deal here, because every little step there's new to me, new to Justin. We feel when a publisher said, I enjoyed the read and it's well written, which both of them said, I just went, that's in my world. Yeah, we've made it. We've made it, even if you find it's not a commercial viable thing for you, or whatever you might say at the end of that. Already that belief, Chris, you were talking about, and I have to apologize to you on behalf of all teachers, being a teacher who's retired after 46 years. Any child that comes through the system and feels a failure, they can't spell or they can't do whatever, and that's the takeaway. I'm profoundly disappointed for you, because that's not what a teacher should be doing.
Yeah.
And that's me. I'll get off the soapbox.
Well, that was a good soapbox, Sue, and well done. I want to use Sue and Justin. The example is because often people say, how long does it take, to write a book and get published? And some people take a long time. And Sue, Justin, when did you start writing it? Was it
January the 28th? Not that I put the note in my diary to that effect.
January, and we're now in August, so this is 7 months.
Yeah. And
their manuscript's finished. They've submitted 10. They've got effectively, one offer for a co-publishing deal. And the Melbourne Books one sound incredibly positive, and that's a traditional publisher.
Yeah.
The fact that they've asked for a full manuscript, the fact they've got back to you and committed and communicate with you regularly is a very good sign. So I would say in the next little bit, you'll probably receive a contract from them as well, so it can happen. What I'm saying, guys, is it can happen fast, and I think it really is a belief thing, and it's an expectancy thing. You've got to go into this process expecting that you'll get what you want. And that's just a shift in thinking rather than hoping. Hope's not a strategy. Expect. Why not? It's just as easy to expect you'll get a publishing deal than as it is to expect you won't. Yeah, it's the same process. It's just where you focus your attention. So that's brilliant news. Well done.
Thank you. And thank you to this forum, because there have been various bits of encouragement that have assisted us. And I will say this too, so that no one feels quite deflated by the speed of that Justin and I co-founded a company and worked for 15 months and putting together the essence of this book. We were doing it on Zoom. I was coaching on Zoom. And the nature of it is to elicit people's life manifestos, their statement about who they are, what they stand for, and the direction they're taking in life, the direction they want to take in life. And I was doing that over Zoom, and we found that the costs of that, the coaching hours, we were co-creating it with the person and so on. We still think it's a beautiful, worthwhile idea, but it was prohibitive in cost to be able to make anything out of that. So we decided to do the book. Let me say then that 15 months of thinking, of working out how we were going to do this, and me doing it with over 25 people, meant I was pretty polished. And so was Justin, so don't feel, oh God, I can't do anything in that short time. If you're clear, Chris, you're saying if you're clear, you just said on what I'm saying, clear on what you want to say. And Justine, you made that point. Don't be worrying about how you're coming across, Sue. It's what you want to say. What you want to say. They're not there for you to impress. It's not about you so much as what are you wanting to say to people. Get that clear.
Yep.
Yeah.
Awesome. Beautiful. Good on you, Sue. And I don't think you need to apologise for making things happen fast. I think that's inspiring. That's not discouraging.
Okay.
So good job.
Thank you.
Anyone else? And that's a hard act to follow. Anyone got anything they want to share?
I'm 4 weeks out from publishing.
Good.
Yay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've put in my pre-order, Justine.
Awesome. Thanks, Sue.
You're welcome.
Wonderful. That's great, Justine.
Yeah.
Who else? What else have we got going on?
I can give an update on the drama.
Yes.
That's right. Everyone who wasn't here last time, Kat was talking about her challenges, her adventure with her science book and her partner, and a few things have moved, haven't they, Kat? A few things shifted a little bit.
They have. So forgive me, I don't recall who made the suggestion of so the two people that I was chasing endlessly, so the actual project partner, and then the person doing the physics review. And somebody made the suggestion for the physics review person, since I'd said that I had seen that they did seem to be alive. There was content on LinkedIn, writing them there. I did get a response that was quite apologetic, and yes, I'm coming and I should have it by the end of the month. That was in July. I'll give you 3 guesses as to how many files I've received, but we had the touch point, and I've chased again on that space. I haven't seen a response, but I will continue to chase. But on the partner side, he is moving house, and so suddenly the idea of having to reset up everything to finalize the testing and photos in his new house was extremely unappealing. So he actually had completed I think 4 of the 6 that he needed to do when I spoke with him last week. And then he asked for an extra meeting that's tomorrow, or no, I don't know. someday this week. I don't know what day it is. But anyway, he anticipates that he'll have all those done because he doesn't want to move it. So that's extremely exciting. And that'll also give me power to go back to our physics reviewer and say, hey, you're kind of our last piece. But also been unblocked with Andrew on the approach to publishers and the fact that we could cherry pick some of our chapters. So the manuscript could technically not be completely finished to start kicking that off. So yeah. So no,
There's movement.
the movement, and no one needs to threaten physical violence, but thank you for the offer.
No one needs to die just yet.
Yeah, I think Justine was offering offering some strength in that space, and yeah, all good. So.
Connected. Justine, you connected.
Well,
The family.
I don't put up with shit.
Well, that's great, Kat. Good news. Good news. Again, patience. And yeah, you're a very patient person, that's for sure. I think you're more patient than a lot of us. But that's awesome. Okay. What else is happening? Anything else we need to hear about? Okay. Well, why don't Jem, do you mind, might get Jem and Justine just to maybe share a little bit about Bali, just so these guys get a bit of a feel for what happened and what you got out of it, and again, not as a, we're not trying to promote it or sell it, because there will be more retreats, trust me. But just what was it out of Bali that you got most? Jem, do you want to? We'll start with you.
Yeah, sure. I guess first thing was the reason I was heading there. So I've already got 3 books. My first series is done, published, and out. And I've been very, I guess, procrastinating a fair bit and putting a fair bit of blockages in myself before I started my next series. It's been sort of sitting in the background, slowly, randomly getting movement, but not any sort of consistency. So I was looking to sort of reconnect with my writing, reconnect with the strategy that I want to work towards, and build that sort of stuff up. So that was the reason I chose to go on the retreat. And it was all of that and more. It was, I'm I guess an introvert by default. So it was a little big for me to sort of be putting myself with a bunch of people I didn't know, and sort of talking about myself, and opening up very clearly and freely, and but it was honestly quite a profound experience, I think, throughout the week. Everyone was very open, very supportive. There wasn't a chance to turn around and to feel like you were on your own and by yourself, unless you wanted to be. So there was always someone to chat to talk about life and our passions and everything that we wanted to. So it was a lot of, I guess, pulling down barriers that we all have for ourselves. There was lots of tears on every single day, but they were healthy and very cathartic tears for everyone, which was really quite beautiful to see different people breaking down those elements that they have that feel like they're stopping them from moving forward to the life they want. The overall retreat itself, the location was lovely, very relaxing, very beautiful, but also just the structure of the actual retreat itself was, helping us to break down those barriers, then put in the paths and the actions we want to take. It was helping people who are in the newer stages of looking at the different types of publishing and the marketing side of things and how to look at that. And so for me, by the end of it, I came out with a very clear strategy. I've been writing every day since then, making a fair bit of progress on my new series. And I've been putting myself into that stage where I'm actually looking at my social media learnings, building my strategy for what I want to do with my own business moving forward. So overall, it was a very enlightening experience. Also just beautiful location to do something like that, have a full break from work and all the frustrations of day-to-day life. So yeah, overall it was just a really amazing experience.
That's awesome. Thanks, Jem, for sharing. And it's interesting, isn't it? Because there's so many people from so many different walks of life and at so many varying places and stages. And probably, Jemmy, you were one of the most established authors there.
Yeah.
You know, and there were people there that had no idea how to start writing a book. You know, so
Yeah.
and it was, and I think one of the things that came for me was just how well just that connection, that the community that built so very quickly. And I think that it just highlighted to me the power, you know, and these forums, and I know why we all get so much out of these forums, but imagine, you know, being with like-minded amazing people for 7 days in a you know, beautiful location where you can actually hug and touch each other and pat each other and, you know, have a cocktail together each night. And, you know, it was just such a beautiful...
A cocktail.
Okay, maybe a couple. Well, every night the happy hour was 2 for the price of 1, so you can imagine there was some creative work happening in the evenings. The creative juice was being consumed, but you know, it was wonderful. Justine, what's your sort of take?
Well, I think Gemma's like just said it all, but it wasn't just about the book.
Mm.
It was far more than that. I mean, I went there with no expectation on what it was going to be like. It was in paradise. A lot of us didn't actually leave the retreat location for 7 days. So there was no TV, a little bit of external on Facebook, but even I cut back my social media and didn't walk out through the front gate. So I didn't know what was happening in the outside world. I think everyone came away with learning things, creating new habits, and lifelong friends.
Yeah. I wrote a blog. Some of you may have read it, and I actually told this story on the last day of the retreat. As Justine said, this retreat was, I don't know how many of you have been to Bali, but Ubud is a beautiful area of Bali, and it's very touristy, but this retreat was probably 45 minutes out of Ubud, an hour away from you know, the standard tourist area. So it's pretty much smack bang in the middle of
Rice paddies.
Bali, you know, like real Bali, not tourist Bali. Okay, so the second you walked out of the retreat, it was a very different feeling, wasn't it, Justine? I mean, like it was, you know, the hustle, you know, scooters running, zooming past, and all kinds of stuff. And it was, so the retreat became this very safe place, safe haven. One morning, I decided that there was a beach about sort of, you know, about a 15-20 minute walk away. It wasn't a great beach. It was a black sand beach, and it wasn't a beach where you'd swim or sunbathe, but it was a beach. And I thought, okay, so one morning I decided to get up and run to the beach, and it was still dark. You know, the sun hadn't come up, and I walked out. As soon as I walked out of the retreat, all of a sudden, you know, there was a bit of anxiety. I could feel a little bit of anxiety, and I started jogging along the road, and there wasn't a lot of street lights, and there was, you know, scooters and cars and stuff. There's no footpath, and the roads are quite narrow. So first risk is getting hit by a car or a scooter. Then the next risk that I wasn't really prepared for was Bali dogs. I don't know if you know about Bali, very mangy dogs, and they're just wandering wild. And you know, I'm running past, and you know, this is sort of, you know, I get up early, so this is like 6 o'clock in the morning, and these Bali dog packs of Bali dogs start barking at me and following me down the road, and I was just, if I'm being honest, I was shitting myself. Yeah, and I just, all of a sudden my heart rate went up, and I just started running faster than I've run in a long time, to get past one pack, and then to be chased by another pack, and finally I got to the beach and started to watch the sunrise, and it was beautiful. I mean, it was so worth it. And then running back, you know, like the anxiety just as I was heading back, going, I'm going to go past those same dogs. And so I got back, and I finally jogged back into into the resort, and it was like, oh, that feeling of when you're home, when you feel safe. And it just, as I'm running, and as I tend to do these days in my world, is okay, everything that happens, okay, there's a blog here, there's a lesson here. And the lesson that for me was, I think it's important to go out and get uncomfortable. It's important to do things that challenge you. It's important to do things that are a little bit scary. I think you've got to step out, and writing a book is that, and submitting to publishers is that. And that's where it's a bit unsafe, right? And there are mangy dogs out there that are going to criticize you and chase you, but once you get to the end, and what Sue's starting to see is that beautiful sunrise, right? So the sunrise, but then there's still going to be challenges, but the lesson was, you always need a safe place to come back to. And for me, this is a safe place, like, and the safe place wasn't even the resort. It was, whilst that was, it was a walled, enclosed place, but the safe place was the people, and I think we all just need that. You need to go out and stretch yourself, and take a bit of a risk, and do things that are uncomfortable, but then come back to that safe place. And that safe place might be, again, this community. That safe place might be me, having a conversation, or mentoring, or it could be a friend or a partner or an accountability partner. That safe place could be prayer. That safe place could be meditation. I don't know whatever it is, but I think I just want to, the message I got from that was, just make sure, no matter what you're doing and pushing and stretching, that you've always got a safe place to come back to. Because I think once you do, it gives you courage. I don't know about you guys, but when you're coming back to report and to share stuff at a forum, you want to go out and try things that are a bit uncomfortable, and do things and stretch yourself a little bit, knowing that you can come back to that safe place. So anyway, I just thought I'd share that, because I thought that was, I survived the mangy Parley dogs, but I thought, what a beautiful metaphor for life.
Definitely worth going to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Anyway, what else is going on? How are you going, Sue? Sue Smith, you good?
I'm good, thanks, Andrew. Yeah, kind of carrying on with the journey. So very big thanks to Chris, to you, everyone that's mentioned anything. What's resonating is the last thing that you just said, actually, is just, being brave, having courage, but also getting the courage from the group. And I think, obviously, I've not been able to be here, various things going on. And as you probably know from last time, Jean and I are buddying up. So we've been buddying, and with, in between things like family and stuff like that, talking very much about habits and creating identity, how important that is, those little wins, creating identity, really inspired from the Atomic Habits book, but very relevant to what everyone said here, and just trying to knit it together. And I think actually what I'm going to go away with today is that safe place. I think that's the thing that is probably what I'm hearing here. And I really thank everyone, kind of just stepping up. I think, the identity and what did you say, Andrew? I think it was expecting, not hoping. I think that's the big reframe, kind of just keep expecting, but that takes courage. And I think that
does take courage. It does.
That's jump is just to trust the expectation is okay to have. I think sometimes you can doubt, why am I doing this? But I think what comes to me, and I say it, and particularly when you are a coach, it's like you kick yourself pretty much every day. But anyway, is the why not, really. It's like the more is a why not rather than the why. And I think, and then just knowing the safe place is there. I think that's quite fundamental, and to use that more, I would say. I think when you're reminded that actually maybe I've let go of that, and that maybe maybe explaining some of the lack of courage and not to kind of take it all on yourself.
Yeah.
And I think particularly when you are a lone author at the early stage, because you are literally, you can end up with this perspective of being on your own, but you're actually not. And that's where, you know, I love the courage, I guess, of Chris, of just being bloody brutally honest, is actually partly, I need you guys, I need you to be here, and I need to be part of this. And that's quite a big thing to take away. So thank you, everyone. And yes, I have been to Bali, and I think it's amazing, but I would have loved to have been there with you guys.
Well, don't worry, we will be there again, and you will be with us. But I think so. I think that what you've said is beautiful, and I'm glad you got that from this. And it's easy, isn't it easy to let go of that safe place, to just, particularly if that's maybe a catch up with me, or because so we haven't caught up for a little while, and it's easy to let go because you think, well, I'm not doing anything, so there's no point. But that's the exact time and reason you would need to connect, I believe. When you feel like I don't deserve the time, that's the time you want to book it. And so, look, I want to encourage you to reach out. And anyone that hasn't booked a time to see me recently, do it. Not because I've got all the answers, not because I'm the all-knowing, all-wonderful Andrew, but because it's a safe place, and because you'll get from me encouragement. And I want to just go back to Chris's story, and so you're talking about identity. Well, hasn't this man shifted his identity? And that's why Chris is in action now, because he shifted his identity of who he was. He used to think he was dumb. He used to think he wasn't any good, and he shifted that identity, and that's exactly why he's in action. And that piece, that identity piece, is critical for that's just a belief thing. And if you're feeling stuck and you're procrastinating, it's a belief thing. It's an identity piece. You're still identifying yourself as someone who's not really maybe good enough, so you've got to start to really shift that identity, because Chris is a beautiful example of how quickly things can happen when you make that shift. And Chris, please jump in at any time, mate, if you want to add anything to what I'm saying. But that's what I'm getting from what you've said, is you've shifted that talk you had with yourself. You said, mate, that's a lie. That's lies. That's not who I am. This is who I am. And when you identify that and can then go, well, look at me, the new me, and off you go.
I think if I may, in a lot of ways, getting really honest with yourself and being brutally honest is great, but you've got to have a deep belief in what you are about to do. You've got to believe that my journey with health. Now, I've done loads of stuff, and I do loads of stuff, but it's all backed up by this true belief that I can heal myself. That's so strong in me, but I wasn't really being honest. I was saying to Andrew, yeah, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that and I'm going to sit down and I'm going to write that, but I didn't really believe it. I wasn't being really truthful. Now I am. That's the difference.
That's so good, mate. So good. Love that. Steve's got his hand up. Stephen, you want to share some stuff?
Yeah, been great to hear all the challenges and people making progress, and great to hear people getting towards the end of the journey, or the end of something, because there's no end really. But yeah, it's really great to hear that, and I mean, I'm making progress, and yeah, I think talking to Andrew every week is helping. We only started doing that in the last week or two, but I think just having that accountability, somebody next to you who just to give you a bit of reassurance to keep moving down the line is really important. Because yeah, me and Andrew talked today about the importance of touching it every day and opening it up, but not overthinking it as well, which I'm really guilty of that. I'm always thinking and trying to make it better instead of just getting on with it and writing it. So today, yeah, I think that's what I'm taking away, just to keep writing and just not overthink it. So I'm gonna try and do that. And yeah, it's been great to be here today and to hear everyone's stories. So yeah, and if you don't mind, Andrew, I'm gonna share. I say a little something that I've just started doing. If you
Sure.
don't mind,
Yeah, please.
give it a little plug. So I'm all about health and well-being. So I've been using products from a company called Manatech for over 15 years. And yeah, not everybody believes in supplements and not everybody likes taking supplements. But it really helped me over the last 15 years. But I've just started, I've just taken out a business opportunity with Montech. So yeah, I'm excited about that as well. So and Monitech is an American company, but the products are available all over the world. So you can get them in Australia, in South Africa. So I'll put a little link in the chat, and if anybody is interested in having a chat about it, you can get in touch. But yeah, that was just a little plug from me. I hope you don't mind, Andrew.
That's all right, mate. You can have a little plug. And I mean, I agree, mate. I'm very much an advocate of supplementation. So, absolutely.
Cool.
Thanks, mate, for sharing, and well done. Good on you for touching your book. Anyone else want to, as we sort of come towards the end, anyone else got any thoughts or anything they want to share or comments? No. Okay. Awesome. Well, so good to see you all. Good to be here. We will obviously be back in 4 weeks, which will take us to the 12th of September. Oh my gosh, can we believe it? Spring in Australia. Woohoo! Sorry, European. It's warm up for us. It's getting cold for you. Sorry. That's just the way life works. So keep doing what you're doing, guys. Honestly, I mean, think what I've got out of this forum, and we obviously haven't heard from everyone, but there's movement, and I love that. Just keep moving. You know, Stephen just said it. The overthinking is the biggest enemy in the creative journey, and that sounds weird, doesn't it? Thinking is the biggest enemy in the creative journey, because creation is not a mental process. It's a feeling process. It's a heart process. Creation comes from your core, not from your brain, right? So stop thinking. Just trust yourself and touch it every day. Justine, do you want to say something?
Yeah, I just want to say persistence over perfection.
Yeah, look, and the bottom line is it'll never be perfect. I mean, I don't know how many times I read, there are times I read my books that have been published and supposedly perfected. Like, oh my gosh, what was I thinking with that?
Do you ever do, like, when you republish, do you ever do a second edit? Do you do another edit, another version?
Yeah. Well, I haven't.
Because I know Mish, when we're in Bali, she's talking about doing a second version of her book.
Yeah. Well, I think with her book, because she self-published hers, and we discussed actually rewriting it, retitling it, and trying to, because she's done incredibly well as a self-published author. She's sold close to 10,000 copies as a self-published author, which is pretty amazing. So, but she's not going to, she's not going to get that book published as a traditional publisher because it's already sold nearly 10,000 copies. But if she rewrote it and retitled it, then there's an opportunity to get it published. But
Yeah.
Look, I think the reality is that as you said, Justine, perfection is just the death of progress, isn't it? Well, when we think we've got to perfect something, it's got to be right, or it's not. That just stops us in our tracks. So just trust.
Just to add to that, Andrew, like with the perfection aspect, and the reality is that I don't actually look at my book when I'm reading it, right? When I'm writing it, I actually don't edit until it's completed. So I never go back and look at it during the process. Otherwise, I'd never get out of chapter 1. Yeah. So I actually write the entire thing, then I sit down and then read it and then edit at that point in time. So that way I don't actually get in my own way.
That is so cool, Jem. And it's like just ripping off your rear vision mirror, right? Like, and just all you're doing is you're going forward. And I think that is the best advice you could ever get. So on your first draft, we're talking about. I mean, you do need to go back and perfect it to a point, or certainly modify and polish. But first draft, you just got to burn through it. That's awesome advice. All right, superstars, have a wonderful evening, have a wonderful day, have a beautiful month of August. And if I haven't spoken to you, and I know you know exactly who I'm talking to right now, I'm not naming names, but if you haven't reached out and said, Andrew, let's catch up, I want to hear from you. You know exactly who I'm talking to. So have a wonderful day. Look forward to speaking to all of you very, very soon and seeing you on this forum in the next 4 weeks. So have a beautiful day, evening, week, month, and life.
Ciao, ciao.
See you guys.